In the next few minutes, you'll learn how the EGL business language from IBM can create a fully functional Web 2.0 portal application that calculates mortgages and locates mortgage brokers. Because EGL shields you from the complexities of the environments where you deploy your applications, you can write high-level code once and deploy it to a range of target systems. In this video, you'll see highlights from the step-by-step tutorial available on the EGL Cafe. Look for EGL Cafe in your search engine, or use the shortcut tinyurl.com/EGL-mortgage. While you're on the Cafe site, you can download a free copy of EGL Community Edition, the product we've used in this tutorial, and some support files. Here's a quick look at the portal you'll create. You can calculate monthly mortgage payments, graph principal versus interest, maintain a list of previous calculations, and find a mortgage broker for a specific U.S. zip code. If you're familiar with the Eclipse integrated development environment, you should be quite comfortable with the look and feel of the EGL interface. Start coding by creating a new EGL project, which typically corresponds to an application. Use packages within the project to organize different types of programs like services, handlers, and so on. Call this one Mortgage EGL Project. EGL automatically creates folders for your source files and your web content. Your first program is a service that calculates mortgage payments. EGL refers to the various components of an application, like services, records, and handlers, as parts. You're creating a dedicated service part, which means that only applications that reference the current project can use it. Name the new service Mortgage Calculation Service and put it in the Services package. A dedicated service doesn't need an interface. The service contains a single function, which you paste into the EGL editor from the tutorial instructions. Red X's indicate errors, which you will resolve as you go forward. The function requires a record structure to hold calculation values. Paste the code for this record part to resolve earlier errors, then save and close the file. Each portlet on the final page is a separate EGL Rich UI handler. Handler programs respond to events such as mouse clicks. Create a new Rich UI handler, name it Mortgage Calculator Handler, and place it in the Handlers package. Use the EGL Visual Editor to drag components, called widgets, from the palette to the design view. Use text label widgets to create prompts, and text field widgets to create fields for user entry. Properties determine how a widget behaves. You can assign default values to the user entry fields in the Properties view. After you create the input fields, drag a Dojo button onto the user interface and label it Calculate. You want your handler to respond when somebody clicks this button, so you must bind the button to a function. On the Events tab, find the onClick event and click the plus sign to create a new function for this event. EGL creates a stub function for you in the source. Back in the Design view, add an animated image to indicate a calculation in process. This image is hidden when the portlet first opens. Add a field where EGL can display the calculation results and an area for error messages. Select an object in the UI and click the Source tab to see the supporting code EGL created for it. EGL's Model View Controller functions associate objects on the screen, the view, with variables in memory, the model. Paste source code from the instructions to create a controller to manage error messages. Next, add a variable to represent the mortgage calculation service you created earlier. Add the remaining functions to call the service and manage the user interface. The instructions explain the fine points for each function. When you finish, right-click any space on the editor screen and click Organize Imports. EGL then imports files to resolve any references it can. To test the portlet, click Preview. Try entering different loan amounts, interest rates, and term years to calculate the monthly payment. Before you begin coding the results portlet, make one change to the calculator. Send the mortgage application.mortgageCalculated message using the EGL Infobus library to communicate between the portlets. The results portlet will listen for this message. Create a new handler part named Calculation Results Handler, and then drag a pie chart widget onto the Design view. The widget is displayed with boilerplate values. Click Source to customize them. Paste the revised code from the instructions. The Y property of the pie chart data widget contains the relative size of that slice. The initial state of the pie chart shows 100% principal. Subscribe to the event you created in the Calculate portlet. EGL calls the function you name here when the event is detected. That function replaces the data field of the pie chart widget, which forces it to redisplay. Organize your imports, then save and close the file. The main portal, also a Rich UI handler, contains the other portlets. Create that portal now and add the 2 portlets you have so far using code from the instructions. Organize imports, save the file, and preview it. Double-click the file name to expand the window. The pie chart reflects changes to the calculation values. Create a new calculation history handler and change to the source view. Add a Dojo Grid widget, which is an interactive table. Declare columns for the 4 fields that are used in the calculation. The history portlet maintains an array of result records. Each record corresponds to a row in the Dojo Grid. The info bus notifies the portlet when a new calculation is available. Add code to detect when someone clicks a row in the table and to publish an event for the selected record. You're now using the info bus to communicate between the portlet handlers when there's a new calculation and again when someone clicks a row in the history table. You can use a wildcard character to represent either of those mortgage application events. Open the main portal and add the history portlet in the same way that you added the other 2. Click Preview to test. Again, double-click the file name to get a full-size display. Run the calculation twice with different variables. Click the first row of the history grid, and the results portlet redisplays the first pie chart. Use a web service to create the mortgage provider list and an external widget for the Google Map. An interface part tells EGL about the available functions in a service. Name the interface part Yahoo Local Service. The service consists of a single function, Get Search Results. The service uses several record parts, which you paste into the file from the instructions. The Google application is a widget, much like the widgets you've used already. You define it to EGL as an external type, which you place in a generic EGL source file. Like an interface part, this external type declaration includes a function prototype and data fields. Create one last Rich UI handler and name it Map Locator Handler. As in the calculator portlet, drag widgets onto the design view to provide labels and a data entry field for a US zip code. Nested boxes hold the search results. Switching to the source view, adjust the size of the portlet window. Create a constant for a Yahoo application ID and a variable based on the interface part you created for the Yahoo service. Add a local map widget that represents the Google Map external type. Then complete the Start, Check for Enter, and button-click stub functions. The search function calls the Yahoo web service with a zip code to get a list of mortgage companies. It then uses the Google Maps widget to display the referenced area. Switch to Preview to make sure everything's there. Add the map portlet to the portal in the same way that you added the other 2 portlets, then click Preview. The default zip code specifies Midtown Manhattan. Click one of the mortgage companies in the list, and the map pinpoints its location. Enter a new zip code, and both the map and the list are refreshed. The tutorial concludes by showing you how to deploy your new application to a web server using the EGL deployment descriptor. A bonus lesson shows you how to create validating forms. Though it was simple to construct, the finished application demonstrates the power and flexibility of EGL.